Hello and welcome in today's exciting episode. I dumped out all my scraps, sewed them all together, and then I made a reversible jacket out of them. It's all very exciting.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
Now, if you watched my August sewing plans video at the start of the month, you'll know that Anne-Marie from Anne-Marie's Workshop is doing a Sew Reversible challenge this month, and I wanted to do a quilted jacket, so double-sided quilted jacket, and I'm using this Burda pattern. It's a super easy one. It's just 2 bits for the front, left side, right side, and then 1 piece on the back. You can cut it as 2 pieces or 1 piece. I'm cutting it as 1 piece. And I'm just showing you the front piece here. So it has sort of a facing, and I guess some people would be tempted to cut that off if you're doing a reversible, but I'm going to leave it on and just fold the facings in between so that the front line of the jacket it's just a little bit stronger. So I'm leaving it on. I'm not cutting it off, even though I'm doing 2 sides. So then I dumped out all my fabrics. Some of them are in bags and they're sorted, but the ones I've finished, the fabrics I've used more recently, like in the past 2 months, I haven't sorted them into colours yet. So I've got half of them are sorted and half of them are not, sort of thing. So I decided that I would go, because like the end of last month was Midsummer, and whenever I think Midsummer, I think the Shakespeare play Midsummer Night's Dream, which is set in a magical forest. So I decided one side would be a magical forest, and then to me the opposite of Shakespeare is Jane Austen. It's because of Don Quixote. They both did adaptations of Don Quixote, or Man of La Mancha, as you might know, the musical. They're very different. They chose very different things. Anyway, and I wrote an adaptation of a Jane Austen novel, Pride and Prejudice, and I set it in Vegas. So, wow, you really didn't need to know the backstory, did you? So anyway, one side of mine is going to be Las Vegas at night with all those super soaked hyper colors. I had, I've used up some Halloween fabric with glowing lanterns and some really, really saturated, that's Sally Kelly fabric, and she's a UK designer who designs for American quilting fabrics, and I just love her designs. Anyway, so my magical forest also includes Burda Paradise, hence the sort of dark red tones in there. And yeah, so those are my 2 sides. I'm not sure you really needed to know that. But anyway, I've got my Magical Forest Shakespeare side, and I've got my Jane Austen in Las Vegas at night side. So those are the colours I've chosen. So then I put them in 2 separate bags, but then I went off and I did my a little bit more beading embellishment on my other jacket, which is tweed embellished with mainly sequins, but a few little seed beads and also some light plastic beads. Anyway, so I went and worked on that for a bit, but now I'm back with this, and I have dumped out the Magical Forest side and I cut it all into strips. And so the first stage of making patchwork is you do all the strips and then you're supposed to cut it into squares and sew them all back together. But I hung them on the mannequins just to show you what it was like. And I like this so, so much. So I went away and I was going to do the next bit of the strip things. But then I came back, like I had my coffee, and I was stood here staring at it. And I was like, actually, I could just cut it out of the strips. So yeah, that is what I am going to, well, you've seen the finished thing on the thumbnail, but I haven't finished it yet. So yeah. I decided I'm just going to do the strips of fabric, and yeah, I really like this. At first I was like, no, I couldn't do that. But yeah, it's really growing on me. So here I am cutting out the pattern pieces. So this is the front left side. I don't know my left from my right. I always have to hold up my hand and do the thing where you do the L with your thumb and your first finger. So sad. Anyway, there are a few joins here if you sort of look closely. And this is me admiring the spider webs. I wasn't sure about including the spider webs in the Magical Forest side, but I really like how they turned out. In future, think I'll make a point of avoiding doing the joined bits in the front and save those joined, like use just straight strips for the front section, and then on the back, when I've used up all the long straight strips and I've had to start piecing them together, I'll use them for the back. And this really reminds me of those Oscar de la Renta dresses with the strips of fabric. I've always wanted to make one of those dresses. So maybe after I finish this jacket, I'll not get distracted. I'll finish this first. But yeah, I think I might make some of those Oscar de la Renta dresses with my patchwork, with my scraps, because, yeah, I mean, I didn't think I'd be able to get so many long, thin strips, but because I always even out, when they cut the fabric for you, they often sort of just cut it a little bit crooked, and I have to even it out, and you end up sort of with a couple of inches, one end is 3 or 4, 4 inches, and then the other one ends up being nothing. But yeah, by the time you straighten out every single piece of fabric you buy, it amounts to quite a bit of fabric. So yeah, this is a good way of using it up. Anyway, so I slowly but surely made all the pieces. I did the body, like the torso of the jacket first, because they're the long strips that I needed. And then once I'd used up all of them, I worked on the shorter bits with the arms, using up all the scraps. So here I am, I've done the bottom one, and then I laid the 2 front bits, the left and the right, and I've just folded under the front facing, so you get an approximation of what this magical forest side of the jacket is going to look like, and I'm really happy with it. It's I didn't think I would like this sort of striped fabric because I wasn't sure about it, but I really like it. It's grown on me, and I love the color mix. I wasn't sure about using the rose fabric that has the yellow roses in it. But yeah, because of the Bird of Paradise, I think it really ties in really well. So I'm really, really happy with this side. And now I've done the ones on the left. Now I've got to do the Las Vegas at night side. So by this time this is another day actually, but it's evening. And so yeah, I dumped them out and I was just watching TV and cutting them into strips. So here we are. This is me. I just put the flash on, so it's not the greatest lighting, but yeah, I just sort of folded a box flat and then sat it on my lap while I was watching TV and just took out one scrap, cut it into strips, and yeah, there wasn't really that much wastage. I was really impressed with this way of making patchworks. Instead of just making one square at a time or something, it worked out really well. So obviously, again, I'm just doing the same thing, doing the left side, then the right side, and then the back. But with this one here, I wasn't really sure what I was doing, so it took me quite some time. But because I've already done that one, I was able to count how many pieces. So I needed 24 really long ones for the back and 10 or 12 for each of the front. And then the rest could be short bits. So I was able to, and I used a lot of the pieced ones for the back one. And also, if you notice, there's quite a bit of orange and pink, the really saturated bright colours on the left and the right front, whereas on the back it's mainly darkness and the night colours. This is the bags again. These are the scraps, leftover scraps. So after I'd made it, I put the scraps back that I hadn't used yet, and there's still quite a lot in there, so I'm definitely going to make a dress. And this is the next day, me just having a coffee, standing, admiring my beautiful work. So once you sew them all together, before you cut the piece, you obviously have to turn it face down on the ironing board and carefully iron all the seams one way, and then turn it over with the front facing upwards and iron it again, and only then can you cut out your pieces. So I've done the ironing, now I have to cut out the pieces, but I'll just finish while I'm finishing my coffee. I'll just admire these beautiful. I'm just really happy that it turned out so well. Okay, time to cut out the pieces. Before I cut out the pieces from this fabric, I decided that I wanted to have backing fabric because I'm so used to wearing beaded jackets that are really, really heavy. I thought just 2 layers of light cotton. I might not wear it if it's not heavy enough, because light jackets just feel weird to me because I'm so used to wearing heavy ones. So I cut out backing fabric first. I cut out 2 sets of it, which ended up being too much. But anyway, so then I cut out the Las Vegas at night side, and then I decided that I was going to stitch the 2 layers together. So stitch the Las Vegas to the backing and the green forest to the backing. But then I did that and it looked terrible, so I undid it. So the next thing is to make the jackets. First you have to do them separately, the 2 sides separately. So first I did the Vegas at night one, and I sewed the 2 fronts to the back along the top of the sleeves and the bottom of the sleeves and down the sides. So I laid them out like this, and the 2 layers are pinned together. Then I put so it's the fronts and the back, and I pinned them together. Then I sewed them together, and the sleeves are slightly rounded, so that's why they look like that. So now that they're sewed together, I just had to carefully clip the curve, and you don't want to wreck your cut into your seam, so just be really careful. And then once that was done, I set it aside, and here it is. It's looking pretty good. I mean, I still have to stitch down the seam allowance, but it looks pretty good. So I left that there. I admired it for a bit first, and I decided that it was heavy enough. It only needed the magical forest layer by itself as the other side. It didn't need an additional lining. So then I put the magical forest back down, and then I put the 2 fronts on the top, pinned them together, sewed them together, clipped the curves once they'd been machine sewn, and then here it is. It is so cute. I just love these. I wasn't at all sure about the stripes instead of doing the patchworks, but I really, really like them. I can't wait to make a dress like this. Anyway, so these 2 are done. Well, sort of. The next step is I have to turn them inside out again, and I have to hand stitch down all the seams. And once that's done, only once that's done, can I put them together and sew around the neckline. So here we are. I took them off the mannequin and pinned back the seam allowance, and then hand stitched it down on first the forest one and then the Las Vegas at night one. So just slowly, that one there is the Las Vegas at night one. And here we go. I've just put them back on the mannequin. And it's really, well, it's ugly, but it just sits so much better. You couldn't really see it before, but sits so much better. And then this is me doing the other one. I love these colours together. Well chosen colours. It's so fun working on this and that's the inside of the Vegas. It's so weird. When I saw the footage of the mauve one, I was like, why have I got footage of my shirt dress? So both of them were done. So then once the seams were sewn down, the next step is to pin them together. It's called bag lining, and you basically sew right around the edges, but you leave a bit at the bottom where you just pull the whole thing through. So that's what I did. I machine sewed it, then I pulled and cut the corners, and so that they would sit properly when I pulled it out. Then I pulled the whole thing through, and then the last thing you have to do is top stitch right around. Some people do it by machine, but I cannot stand machine top stitching. It's a little too fast fashion for me. I know some people really like it, but I just really, really prefer to do it by hand. So then I took ages to, I pinned it all in place, and then I hand stitched it round. And that was the last thing. I really enjoyed doing. Oh, and of course I had to pin the cuffs as well. So I measured out the inch and then turn them under and turn the other one under as well. Pin them in place. And then, you very carefully have to hand stitch it so that you can't see any of the stitches. So it's a little bit fiddly, but so completely worth it. Look at it. They just look so adorable. And this was so much fun to work on because there are scraps from dresses that I've made. There's like 2 or 3 in there that are unfinished projects, but the rest of them are scraps from made dresses, like finished dresses. And yeah, so this is the finished jacket, but it was just such a joy to work on this. I mean, I love the way that it turned out. I think this side really looks like a magical forest with, birds of paradise and other amazing creatures in there. And then the other side sort of, oh yeah, this is me reminding myself that I really want to make a dress. One of those Oscar de la Renta dresses, definitely want to do that. It's just so cool because I can like point to each one and go, ooh, I know that dress, I know that dress. It's so awesome. I've literally got dozens of dresses that I can wear this jacket with. But honestly, I usually just wear jackets with t-shirt and trousers. But if I wanted to, I could definitely. And this is the other side. I just love that lantern fabric. I have actually made that dress, but it's a Halloween, so I'm keeping it in my wardrobe and I'll show it to you then. It's 3 yards just Halloween fabric, but I also paired it with 3 yards of plain black fabric. So it's this massive vintage dress. It's fabulous. Anyway, this is the Las Vegas at night side. I really love this jacket so much. It's perfect. I guess I had really low expectations because I wasn't sure about doing I just wasn't confident. And I really love the way that it turned out. I love it so much. I'm definitely going to wear this so much. And that orange fabric is the Ankara fabric or African wax print. I only had like enough for 3 strips. That's all I had left of the 6 yards of that fabric. I used most of it in that summer maxi dress. And I just like the bit that where you cut out the neckline of the bodice was like the only bits left. I feel like I'm supposed to do a review of this pattern, but it's so basic. It's a good pattern. And I like it. I think with the cuffs, they taper in too much for my liking. So next time I make it, or I might even alter this one, I'll just put a slit on the inside of the cuff like I do with my normal jackets so that, my wrist can move around a bit. Just when I'm writing or when I'm typing, I prefer to not have the cuff of my jacket constantly rub on my wrist. I prefer there to be a slit there so I can just, but that's just me. But apart from that, it's really good. Normally with dolman sleeve jackets, I don't like how rounded the sleeve is, but these ones, they're sort of cut so that they actually have a shoulder, and I really like that. So all in all, I'm really quite happy with this. Definitely recommend. And I can't wait to get back onto the other tweed one that I'm doing with the embellishment. There's still a little bit more embellishment to go on that one. So, But there it is, politely stacked in the corner. But so I still have to work on that one. That one is taking so long, but it's completely worth it. I love having a jacket that's so unique. No one else in the world has one like it. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're inspired to make something reversible and or make your very own patchwork jacket. Highly recommend this Burda pattern. It's very user-friendly and easy to use. So happy sewing.